Do you ever look at your grocery receipt and wonder where your paycheck went? The items are the same, but the total, it's different. Every cashier or taxi driver sees their hard work diminish in value with each trip to the gas station and every carton of milk. But what if I told you this isn't random? What if there are two types of inflation, one for the wealthy and one for everyone else? In this video, I'll show you how this invisible tax works and why it's turning basic survival into a luxury. We live in a paradox. On one side of the screen, you see a steep, skyward climbing graph of rising prices for gas, bread, and eggs. On the other, a smooth, almost flat line showing prices for iPhones, TVs, and airline tickets. Technologies that were once science fiction are now accessible to almost everyone. Yet basic necessities that were common for our parents, food, housing, transportation, are becoming privileges. These are two distinct economic universes, rapidly drifting apart. This isn't just a feeling. Data from MIT's Billion Prices project clearly and starkly illustrates this divergence. Over the next 10 minutes, we'll explore three key questions. First, why does your burger get more expensive under completely different rules than your smartphone? Second, how does official inflation statistics mislead millions, obscuring their personal financial struggles? And third, most importantly, who profits from this system, and how can you personally stop being a victim? To grasp the scale of this issue, consider this. Over the past 5 years, the average price of food in many regions has risen by approximately 40 to 50%. In the same period, a new iPhone, significantly more powerful, has seen its dollar price increase by only 15 to 20%. Your lunch is becoming twice as expensive as your window to the digital world. And this is just the beginning. Think of a common, staple food index. According to national statistics, it might climb 30 to 40% in a single year, while a gigabyte of memory in your new phone becomes 50% cheaper. We're paying more for cabbage and less for a universe in our pocket. The secret behind this divide is simple. The economy hasn't broken. It has split into two worlds. The world of sticky prices for essentials and the world of slippery prices for technology. The answer lies in two entirely different engines driving them. Let's start with the first. Imagine a burger patty. For it to reach your table, the farmer needs fuel for the tractor. Its price has risen. Grain for the cow. Its price has risen. The worker's salary, that too has increased. Then, the patty is transported to the city by a truck driver who also needs to eat. Each stage adds cost, and none of these participants can simply lower their prices. Prices for real goods are sticky. They easily go up but almost never come down. It's like a domino chain of costs. Push the first domino, fuel prices rise, and the entire chain inevitably falls, right down to the price tag in the store. But these dominoes never stand back up on their own. The price at the gas pump isn't just the price of oil. It's a layered cake of dozens of sticky costs. Even if oil prices halved tomorrow, the fuel truck driver's salary wouldn't be cut, nor would taxes be reduced. That's why gasoline prices work like a ratchet mechanism. They click up easily, but rarely, if ever, come back down. Did you know that in many countries, a significant portion of the price of every gallon of gas is taxes and excise duties? This is a fixed, sticky component that doesn't depend on the price of oil at all. So, when oil gets more expensive, gas prices rise sharply. But when oil gets cheaper, gas prices drop. Only a little. Now let's look at the second engine, the world of slippery prices. Take an iPhone. Its main component is the processor. According to Moore's law, its power doubles every 2 years for the same cost. Assembly is robotic. Logistics are global and optimized to the cent. Copying software costs nothing. Technology, by its very nature, strives for cost reduction. Its price easily slides down with progress. The computing power of your smartphone today is greater than that of the entire NASA Apollo 11 mission control center during the moon landing. You hold in your hand technology that would have cost billions of dollars in 1969. That's technological deflation. Remember a photo taken with a phone 10 years ago. Now look at a picture from a modern one. 10 years ago, to get that quality, you'd need a $1,000 DSLR camera. Today, it's a standard feature in a $300 phone. You get an order of magnitude more value for the same or even less money. In the world of technology, you pay not for costs, but for capabilities, and these are constantly increasing. Economists call this hedonic quality adjustment. They see that a phone costs the same, but its camera is 10 times better, and in their calculations, they count this as a price reduction. However, this statistical discount won't help you pay for your increasingly expensive groceries at the checkout. Here's a quick exercise. Look at your expenses for the last month. Divide them into 2 columns. Sticky, food, rent, transportation, services, and slippery, gadgets, subscriptions, online courses. Which column is larger? For 80% of people, the first column will be many times, even tens of times, larger. And it is this column that is hit by true personal inflation. So, we have 2 economies. One is physical, atomic, and inevitably gets more expensive. The other is digital, virtual, and constantly gets cheaper. The problem is that governments and the media measure the average temperature of the hospital, mixing these 2 worlds into one overall indicator, official inflation. And this averaged figure is the biggest and most dangerous lie in modern economics. How is it calculated? Statisticians take a hypothetical consumer basket, a collection of goods from bread to cars, and observe how its total cost changes. The problem is that your personal basket is completely different. You don't buy a new car every year, but you buy food every day. This concept itself was devised during World War I to calculate wages for workers in military factories. It's a century-old tool, designed for an average worker, not for the complex economy of the 21st century. Imagine a taxi driver's basket, 40% for gas, 30% for food, 20% for rent and utilities. Their personal inflation could be as high as 15%. Now consider a programmer's basket, 20% for mortgage, 15% for travel, another 15% for gadgets and subscriptions, and only 15% for food. Their inflation might be close to the official 5%. The writer Terry Pratchett formulated this as the boots theory. A poor person buys cheap boots for $10 that fall apart in a year. A rich person buys quality ones for $50 that last 10 years. In the end, the poor person spends $100, while the rich person spends $50. Inflation is like those boots. It hits harder those who are forced to spend on basic goods. In this average basket, the weight of the electronics category might be comparable to the weight of bakery products. A 10% drop in TV prices in reports completely offsets a 10% rise in bread prices. For example, in the U.S. consumer basket, the weight of new and used vehicles is several times greater than that of bread. This means that a discount on a new Ford Focus in statisticians' reports can easily outweigh the increased cost of your daily loaf. This isn't always malicious intent. Imagine you need to create a single indicator for 140 million different people. Averaging is the only way. The system wasn't designed to deceive. It was designed to be universal, and that's its main weakness. It perfectly describes the average person who doesn't exist in nature. Official inflation is like a low-resolution world map. It shows the general contours of continents but is absolutely useless if you need to find your way to the bakery in your neighborhood. Statistics see the continent, but you live in your neighborhood. But there's another trick that statistics don't capture. It's when the price stays the same but the product shrinks. A bottle of milk is no longer a liter, but 930 milliliters. A chocolate bar is 90 grams. Or the product's composition changes. Palm oil instead of butter. Formally, the price hasn't increased. Realistically, you've been cheated. This phenomenon has an official name, shrinkflation, coined by economist Pippa Malmgren. When you see new improved packaging on the shelf, chances are that's what it is, a disguised price hike that doesn't show up in official reports. This system doesn't just make mistakes, it systematically redistributes wealth from those who spend on living to those who own assets. Every time you pay more for milk, someone's stocks become more valuable. Every time gas prices rise, someone's investment portfolio grows. This is an invisible tax on survival that turns your basic expenses into someone else's profit. It creates winners and losers. Next, we'll look at those who are on the winning side. First on this list are the corporations selling you necessities. You can postpone buying a new phone, but you can't postpone buying food. During periods of rising costs, they don't just pass them on to you. They build in an additional margin, just in case. This phenomenon has been dubbed greedflation. And it's not speculation. A Roosevelt Institute study showed that in 2021 in the U.S., almost 60% of price increases were not due to rising costs, but to increased corporate profits. Companies used inflation as a perfect cover to raise prices far more than necessary. The second group of winners are asset owners. Inflation is a tax on poverty and a bonus for wealth. Your money in a savings account erodes, while your apartment, stocks, and business grow in value with inflation, often even faster. The rich get richer not because they work harder. They get richer because their money is invested in things that inflation inflates like a balloon. The 18th century economist Richard Cantillon described this mechanism. New money printed by the government enters the economy unevenly. Banks and large corporations receive it first. They buy assets at old prices. By the time this money reaches you in the form of a salary, prices have already risen. It's like pouring honey on a stack of pancakes. The top ones always get more. But the main beneficiary is the one you think of last, the government. Imagine you owe your neighbor $1,000. Then inflation halves the value of the dollar. You still owe $1,000, but now it can buy half as much. Your debt has become lighter. The government is the biggest debtor in any country. Inflation helps it eat away at its enormous domestic debt. This is a quiet and invisible way to solve budget problems at the expense of your savings. And this isn't a theory. After World War II, the U.S. and U.K. faced gigantic war debts. They didn't declare default. They simply kept inflation slightly above interest rates for decades, slowly dissolving their debt at the expense of bondholders, that is, at the expense of their own citizens. Let's be honest. This isn't a global conspiracy. It's not people in a dark room plotting to rob you. These are simply the properties of the system. It just works this way. But ignorance of these rules makes you a pawn in a game where others win. And knowledge gives you a chance to change your strategy. It's like the rules of Monopoly. They aren't written so that you specifically lose, but they are such that whoever first acquires property almost always wins, and everyone else pays them rent until they go bankrupt. The system doesn't have malicious intent, but it has a predictable outcome. But the most terrifying effect of this system isn't a hole in your budget. The most terrifying thing is what it does to our thinking. The constant stress from rising prices for basic necessities literally changes our brain chemistry. It forces us to make one wrong decision after another, driving us into an even deeper financial hole. When all your thoughts are consumed by how to make it to payday, but your brain shifts into survival mode, this is called tunnel vision. You only see immediate problems. Your mental resources, which could be spent on learning, finding a new job, or planning for the future, are burned solving immediate tasks. This is a cognitive tax paid by everyone living paycheck to paycheck. Economists Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir, in their book Scarcity, prove that poverty reduces a person's mental bandwidth. The constant lack of money drains as much mental resource as a sleepless night. You literally become dumber from the stress caused by poverty. In this state of tunnel vision, a person desperately needing $500 is more likely to take out a payday loan at 300% APR than spend a few evenings looking for a side gig. Why? Because the payday loan solves the problem here and now. Finding a job requires resources that are already depleted. This is rational in the moment but catastrophic in the long term. It's a clear example of hyperbolic discounting, a cognitive bias that makes our brains prefer a small reward now over a huge reward in the future. The microloan system is the perfect exploiter of this bug in our wiring. Think about the last time you were under severe stress about money or work. How far ahead could you plan your future? A month? A week? Just one day? Now imagine millions of people living in this state constantly. What are their chances of breaking through? This stress paralyzes the will. Because of tunnel vision, people don't invest in themselves, don't take risks, and don't seek better opportunities. As a result, their incomes don't grow, and inflation continues to erode what they have. Poverty becomes not just a lack of money, but a state of mind that perpetuates itself. It's like a hamster wheel. Inflationary stress makes you run faster and faster, but you stay in the same place, burning all your energy that could be spent getting out of the cage. But this cycle can and must be broken. Breaking out of this system is challenging, but possible. And you don't need to be a financial genius. You just need to follow a simple 3-step protocol that will allow you to stop being a victim and start playing by your own rules. Let's break it down. Forget all the complex theories. Here are 3 concrete actions you can start taking today. 3 steps to protect your money and your future from the inflation tax. First, stop listening to news about official inflation. Take your bank statements for this month and for the same month last year. Write down 5 to 10 main spending categories: food, transportation, utilities. Calculate how much your personal expenses have increased. Knowing your enemy is the first step to victory. Let's call this creating your personal truth index. Until you have this number, you're playing blind. Once you get it, you'll understand how fast you need to move just to stay in place. You'll be shocked when you see your real number. Second, the only way to beat inflation is to make your money grow faster than prices. Trying to save money in a bank account during inflation is like trying to walk up a downward-moving escalator. You take a step, earn some interest, but the escalator, inflation, takes you further down. Investing is the only way to run faster than the escalator moves. Immediately after getting paid, set up an automatic transfer. Let it be a small sum, even $50, to a brokerage account into the simplest, cheapest index fund. You're not paying a tax to the government. You're paying it to your future. This isn't about getting rich tomorrow. It's about not becoming poor the day after tomorrow. And third, most importantly, the most valuable asset that is not subject to inflation is your skills. Invest a couple of $100 not in new jeans, but in a course on Excel, English language, or social media marketing. Learn to do something people are willing to pay for, regardless of oil prices. Economists call this human capital. Its value isn't determined by the central bank, it's created by you. This is your personal money printing press that the government cannot turn on or off at will. Your mind is the only asset no one can take from you or devalue. Finally, the main question, for which there is no definitive answer, is this system, which divides people, an inevitable side effect of the modern economy, or a deliberate mechanism for societal control? Write just one word in the comments: glitch or control. Let's see which one gets more votes.